Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Julie Torrens. We're going to be taking a gel plate that we used a magazine transfer, and we're going to use it in my art journal today. So you can see all I did was I just tore her out and I saved those edges for later. Then I've got a variety of other gel prints. So I've got this gel print. Now this was what I rolled my brayer off while I was doing the gel printing. I've got this, and I've got these all tore up into small little pieces. And then this one, which is again another gel plate print, I put into larger squares or rectangles. And then I have some of this newspaper. I have no idea what the language is, which makes it all the more fun. And I also tore some of that up into some really small pieces. So let's get started and see what we've got. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay her down. And I have my gel matte medium, but if while trying to work this out with these smaller pieces, if this starts to feel too heavy, because you can see this is heavier than pudding. Not a lot heavier, but I would say a pudding or a custard consistency. If this starts as a heavy gel matte medium, if this starts to get too thick on me, I've got just matte medium that I could use as well. So we'll see which one wants to work better. And I'm going to be using a brush that comes from my acrylic brush, not my watercolor brushes. I'm going to wet the brush because if you leave your brush dry, then the matte medium just fills the brush, and it's hard to get that out. Now if I get some of this gel matte medium on my journal, and I'm working in my large Dylusion, Diane Reevely Dylusions journal. If I get some on the paper below, it doesn't matter because it's all going to get covered up. But one of the things that I mentioned, and we talked about it in the comments as I was doing the gel printing, was that you hardly ever, I've never seen it, but I'll say hardly ever see people using these magazine prints in a project. And I just think they lend themselves so wonderfully to a project. Now I am going to take the end of my brush and I'm just easing it into the seam here. Now you can see that the seam of my book has gotten some blue staining. That's simply from using inks and sprays further in the book. And because this is stitched, which is a quality of it, it's a good thing, but because it is stitched, it seeped through. It doesn't bother me. You know, that kind of thing happening in my art journal doesn't bother me. So I'm going to start out with the blue. Now this is from a gel plate print, and I'm just going to be putting these little postage size stamp kind of mosaic around her. I want to create kind of a collage, and I don't want to get too much of the gel medium on because I don't want it to dry before I have a chance to use it. And I do want to cover up, but if I don't exactly, I'm not going to worry about it. I want to cover up the picture a little bit, the edge. Eventually she will be completely covered in the gel medium, so I'm not worried about part of it's going to look like it has gel medium on the top and some doesn't. I just haven't put the gel medium on top of her all the way yet because I would just be dragging my hand through it. So I'm just going to be laying these on all the way around. And this was done on like a piece of newspaper. It may have been an ad, it may have been text, but it's just newspaper text. And then I gel plated on top of that, and now we're using it in this. And I think it's going to be pretty. So how are all of you? I hope that you're getting some art done I hope that you're maybe working in your art journals. Try to get some kind of art in every day, even if it's just some simple doodling. It is good for your muscle memory. It's good for your mind. Do something every day, even if it's something that's relaxing. Maybe it's a skill that you know very, very well, but you enjoy. But it's not practice. It's just get some art done every day. And that's one of the many beauties of having an art journal. Because when you have an art journal, it's that judgment-free zone. It's doing it for you. No expectations, no disappointments. It's just relaxing and getting something in your journal. And maybe you have a journal that's just specifically for that purpose, just for wanting to get some art in every single day. Now, if I didn't tear enough of these out, I can go ahead and tear some more. But I just tore some because I felt like that wasn't something that, a skill that you needed to see over and over again. So here in Western Michigan, we've had a variety of weather today. We're in kind of the end of August, and we're having, in my opinion, seasonable weather. So we had a little bit of rain showers today. We've had some sunshine today. And I have out-of-town company. You know, my sister is still here visiting with me. And we went to the Meyer Gardens, which is just beautiful. So that was a very, very fun day. My sister came for the quilt show, and so we went to some quilt-related stores. And I'll tell you, it's not difficult once you're in one of these stores to figure out why people would be enamored with textiles and sewing and creating. Much of the quilts, to me, look like well-planned, beautifully thought out, the patterns and all. Collage, it's just like a different kind of doing of collage. And they're just beautiful. The executions are amazing. And with quilting and with some of the patterns and squares that they use, there's a lot of math involved in that. So that when you want corners to meet and you want your final project to lay flat, you gotta have some math involved in that. Okay, so I just need a few more of these for right now, so I'm gonna just grab a ruler and tear off some more. No big deal. Just like that. We'll just tear off a few more and we'll have our first set of the blue around. But I just thought that the gel printing with the gel printed picture would complement each other. And I think they are. And I am trying to tear these pieces in a somewhat uniform, predictable way so that it doesn't just look like confusion, but that it does look interesting to the eye. This paper is so nice and flexible, and it's a fine, light paper that to have it work into that seam is easy. All right, we've gone once around with her. I think she's looking great. We got to pick the next color. I think I'm going to go with this. Now these are the scraps that are from the rolling off. So we're going to get started here. Any of them that I see that are trying to lift up a little bit, I'll just add a little more medium. You're going to get your hands sticky, but that's the joy of it. Nothing wrong with that. And these papers, yes, they're different, the prints, but also the weights of the paper are different. And I think that's going to give it just another level of texture and interest. I'm going to be, because these two pieces were just so alike, I'm just separating them a little bit instead of having them just right up together. And this paper takes just a little bit of time to get it to adhere compared to that soft newsprint. So are you having seasonable weather where you are? The rain that we had, certainly we need. It's not going to hurt. But we didn't have enough that was a problem. I doubt anyone's running down to see if their basements are dry. Wasn't that much rain. The summer is winding down, isn't it? How do you feel about that? Are you getting your kids ready to go to school? Are you getting school supplies together? Maybe you've filled some backpacks for children that could use a little help with that this year. That's always kind of fun, isn't it? If you are thinking of doing that, consider putting some art supplies in there. Maybe your children are into sports or into music. Let me know in the comments just what you're bracing yourself for. Do you already maybe have a football schedule? Maybe they've already started their practices. I know high schools start long ago with the football practice. They might be up to 2-a-days, I'm not sure. It always makes me sad when I hear about school districts or schools themselves that have dropped the fine arts program. I think the young people are getting robbed. How can they make a decision if they never have an opportunity? I think that grade school and high school for any of the fine arts is always beneficial, always. I know that my dad was an engineer, and when my mom would do textile work, it was his engineering that would help her with maybe transferring a pattern from a magazine and making it the right size. We didn't have, obviously, things like Photoshop where you could scan a pattern and then print it at double size. There was no such thing as that. So my dad used to take those graphs and turn patterns into the size that my mom would need. But that kind of thing, again, it takes math. I know my mother had to use math when she would be deciding how much fabric and supplies to get for her projects. There's a lot of value in that. I never could get the skill of sewing. I enjoy it, but I just didn't have the knack for the textiles. My mother, my sister, amazing. But I tried and I enjoyed it, but the end products just didn't quite cut it. But I took art in high school, and I even took it in grade school. I went to the Toledo Museum in Toledo, Ohio, and I went to art school there. And then that was through 8th grade, and then in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all of my electives that I was allowed to pick my own were in art. And, I feel like it made me richer. I'll tell you, believe it or not, my skills with paper and tape and that kind of thing, when it came to learning wound care, that helped. I knew how to miter a corner with a piece of gauze. I knew how to look at something and judge how much to pull off the roll. Using gauze wasn't much different than using paper and tape translated into tape. So, yeah. These skills are not wasted. I didn't go to the quilt show. I just didn't know if I would be up to doing all the walking, but the pictures that my sister shared was fantastic. And I'd like to go some days to something like that. My sister went to the museum across the street, the art museum here, and enjoyed that as well. So let's get some of this on this side. I think she's looking great. I really do. Now, will we get through this today in this video? I'm not sure, but we may. If we don't, well, that just means I get to be with you again real soon, so it's a win-win. Have any of you gotten your gel plates out? What size do you have? And do you use it often? I know by the comments that some of you are very familiar with the gel plate because I got some tips and hints, which I always appreciate. Never hesitate to put your suggestions in because they're all beneficial. Okay, so we need the sheet. This is it. That was the rolling it off, my brayer. So, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just need to go back a couple videos, and that's when we did these gel plate sheets. And just make some little, this got a little bit thicker than the others. Like I said, I'd like them somewhat uniform. Not precision, obviously, but somewhat. Right now, we've got blazing sun coming in this western window, so that's nice. At the gardens, they hadn't started putting up the fall things yet. I thought we might see some of it, just because of the enormity of these gardens. I mean, it is acres and acres, and it just is so beautiful. But I was thinking for them to get all the fall things in by fall, maybe they would have started already, but no, not yet. We didn't see those fall mums and things that I know they just go crazy with, and they're just so colorful. But there's a farm area, and you could see where the farm plants had matured and had spaces that they had been harvested. Then I saw a little blank spot that had some obvious fresh planting and looked like little seeds coming up. Well, it was radishes. And I thought, oh, well, there you go. If you live in Michigan and you have a yard, it's not too late to plant another row of those radishes. And they keep. They sure do. And then they were having a, what is it called? Let's see. Heirloom tomato tasting. And all the different heirloom tomatoes. And if you've ever seen heirloom tomatoes, they're not pretty. That's why you don't see them often in the grocery store, or you see them in the grocery store in some place of special honor, and they're very expensive. But they do not look like your typical red orbs. They are purple, they are orange, they are yellow, they're every kind of shape, heart shape, oval shape, round shape, and they often kind of have like a a tortured look. You know, they're kind of twisty, or maybe one side's big and one side's small, but you were you could taste the different flavors of the different varieties of the heirlooms. So that was fun. I know what a tomato tastes like, and they all taste delicious to me, so I didn't participate in that part of it, but it's fun. Now, I had been one fall to a gourd where they had all the different musical instruments and the art, all the different art that they had done with gourds. Outdoor decorating, but things like carving them, drying them, and turning them into bird houses and bird feeders, and it was really interesting. Okay, so we've got 2 rows around here, and I think she's looking amazing. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a row of that foreign language newspaper, because she's kind of black and white, and I think that having some black and white instead, but yet up against this color, I think it will just help to give the eye a rest, still add interest. And some of it looks like it's numbers, and some of it is the lettering, the fonts of lettering. So I'm going to try to have some right side up, some upside down, so that we can see both. But yet I think it'll be evident that it's from the same paper. See, I really like that. I like the change from just kind of variety color to the black and white. I think that's a nice transition. What do you think? Let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. So you know that I've been getting over a cold, and I think I'm at 95% now, and it is getting away, going away, and I'm so grateful. So those of you that have been keeping me in your thoughts and prayers, well, thank you so much. It's working. You know, when you pray for someone, you never know if that's the only prayer that was lifted up for them that day. You just never know, do we? Never hurts. There we go. Now the paper is getting kind of darker and grayer, but when the gel medium dries, it'll go back to its newspaper color. It won't stay dark like that. And this is matte, so it's not going to get a glossy shine to it. Get some of this on here. And we're obviously getting to the bottom down here, which is fine. I am going to put some of these smaller pieces down here. And then our next row will just be around the 3 sides, but not the bottom. Are you liking the way this looks so far? I hope so. Is it a project that you might consider? It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. And it's not difficult. Doing the magazine transfers, it's a little tricky, but trial and error. And you all saw me do it for the first time in my life. And we had some very successful results. So just give it a try. Now, I told you that I had used Vogue magazine, and then that it's like ELLE, something like that. And they're both fashion magazines. Well, as I was reading, someone had sent me a link to another YouTube channel that had done some gel printing, and either I read it there or she spoke it, I don't remember, but also said that Vogue magazine they felt was one of the best. I think it was in the comments. And it all has to, it doesn't have to do with the subject or anything. It has to do with the inks, what inks they use for the printing, what the results will be. That's why I say it's trial and error. Now, do I feel like I wouldn't use any other magazine? Oh no. I would give it a try. I sure would. This piece I'm going to trim later because I don't want to completely obliterate that bottom row of the where we did the brayering off. Tuck a little more in here. This is going fast, I think, don't you? Or is it just going fast because I'm enjoying myself so much? One or the other. Yeah. We're at least halfway done with her. I'm going to move back up to the top. I'll bring it down a little bit so that maybe you can see the top a little bit better. I did purposely not center her in the middle of this page because I definitely wanted it to cascade over into the next page so that it would be a double page spread, because I really wanted to be able to add more color and more texture around her. So this piece is getting kind of big. Again, I can trim that when it's dry. And I can take a few of these and make them a little bit smaller. And the gel medium seems to be doing just fine. And being able to apply it with a brush is handy. Although that's what I would have done with the medium, the one that's not gel, it's just matte medium. I would have definitely put that on with a brush, but I would have poured some into a small container because it's very fluid. I think this is looking quite good, if I say so myself. Do you ever find newspapers or newspaper style ads that are in other languages? You know, if you go to some of the international grocery stores, you know, Asian markets or the Middle Eastern markets, those kinds of things, you go there and sometimes you can find magazines in a language other than your own, and that can add to your collage fodder in a way like nothing else can. And it feels like many other countries haven't given up on newspapers as much as we have in the United States. There is not as much of the newspapers. Now, what goes on in Grand Rapids here where I live, I don't exactly know. I haven't looked into it, but I know that in Detroit, we had the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press, and that it was the same company. One was like the morning paper and one was the evening paper. Only on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday home delivery. The paper was available 7 days a week, but for home delivery, it was only on those 4 days. So, and even with that, I know that they struggled to get delivery people. So I have a feeling that newspapers, at least in the United States, are kind of like your hardwire telephones. You're just not seeing it anymore. That piece had a little bit of a fold, but I think it's okay. Coming up to the end here of our third row. Okay. There's our third row. So we have our gel, medium, or what am I saying? That's our glue. We have our, no, gel plate. Yep, we've got our gel plate, magazine transfer, and we're using our gel plate parts and pieces for this mosaic all around the edges. And I'm liking this look quite a bit. Okay, So the next one is the darker red, and that's going to be the outside edge. And we're really not going to be putting any here on the bottom, but just been very little on the top and just mostly working out on the sides. And now I'm going to be kind of spreading out a little bit more. So let's get started over here on this area. And these pieces are a little bit bigger, and that's fine. Now, if you used metallics or shimmers in your gel work, which is fine. I mean, I do it all the time. But if you use matte medium, you will lose that glimmer because it's matte. So if you use a kind of a satin finish, or if you use a glossy, then you keep that shimmer and shine. But we're going to pretty much be losing that with the matte medium. That's fine though. You still see the color, and I mean it's there, but it is not the same shimmery shine that you get if you use a different product, or just adhere it to the back but never put any product on the front. Now I'm liking the dark up against the light. I think that looks pretty. And when this newsprint dries, it'll even be whiter. It won't be snow white, but it'll be lighter, which is fun. I think I'm gonna put a piece over here so it doesn't all look quite so layered, one on top of the other. This is a bigger. Be sure we get some gel all the way around there. Yes, I am liking the way this looks. Going to put this one out here. And work over here a little bit. I think this is a great way to utilize some of our jelly prints. I really do. I'm not just saying that because I'm doing it, because I'm thinking about how I'm going to do something like this again, because I like it. I like the feel of it. I like the look. It kind of has a rhythm. And it kind of reminds me when I lived in Tucson, we were very near the Mexican border, and the Mexican influence and the work that they did with tile and the way they used it decoratively. This kind of reminds me of that. Different kinds of little shrines and things that were always so pretty. All right, I think I'm going to get just a couple more pieces down here. Maybe one more. And then I'm going to start working on the other side. Well, we can fit. Well, let's finish the side. Finish what you started, huh? We can get some right here. Yep. Looking good. And I think I'm going to tear this one in half and fit it right in here maybe. Yep. And I'll trim that up. Maybe a couple more little pieces up in here. So tell me about some of the places you've traveled, and maybe how the art, the different art and the different architecture and the different styles have maybe changed the way that you look at things, or different kinds of art that you see. Just like, even though I didn't go to the quilt show, just going to look at the fabrics with my sister afterwards at the different quilting stores it's just inspiration bubbling right out the door. It's so beautiful. And I saw some quilts that I honestly would think would take me more than a year, maybe even just to cut out all the different pieces, the intricacy of it all. It is beautiful. Now let's see. Pardon me, I'm still, every once in a while that cold will give me a frog. Okay. I'm liking this very, very much. Just a little piece here. And I can see that I'm going to need to tear up a little more of this red, but we've got plenty. Now, what I used on my gel plate for all of the pieces I'm using is acrylic paint. And so the fact that this gel medium is a wet medium, the acrylic's not moving, and it's not going to move. And matte medium or gel matte medium, any of these mediums, they may be a little bit cloudy when you apply them. They dry clear unless you use an awful thick amount, which I just can't imagine why anyone would do that. But it will dry clear. This one will dry matte, but it's really just acrylic paint without any pigment. And then you can take these mediums and you can add them to acrylic if you want to turn a very opaque acrylic into a semi-opaque. If you use a matte, it'll also make your paint more matte. So if you have a tube or a jar of acrylic paint that just is too shiny, maybe compared to other paints that you want to use in the same project, just go ahead and you can mix some of this acrylic medium up, and it'll bring it to matte for you. Okay, so this is the paper that I'm using, and I can't set it on top of my picture because I am full of gel medium. So I'm going to just tear it off to the side here. And let's see. I'm going to tear a couple. Space is always a premium, but that's okay. We can make it work. All right. What are you thinking? Let me know in the comments. Even if you pause the video, leave me a comment, and while you're there, maybe consider putting a like or subscribing to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it, and it helps us new YouTubers to get a nice start in our YouTube journey. It's very nice. It really is encouraging as well. All right, so let's get, this is a nice straight piece, nice edge, so I'm gonna put it right there. Get this piece. I hope you can see. I think so. I think you can see. Here's another piece. Well, that's all right. Kind of covered up one below it, but that's all right. We still have a nice margin of that underneath, so we're okay. Okay. Now, I only did one row of all the other colors, but I kind of started the second row, and I want to do that, but I'm going to start making it just a little more irregular. Let's get that there. So it's not going to be now quite as predictable. But just kind of like a torn edge would be. Can you kind of see what I'm doing here? Kind of, maybe I'm getting a little high. And we're going to need a little more of this. This is a stubborn one. There we go. Okay, let's get some. Oh no, I've got more. I thought that went awfully fast. Let's set this here. Let's set these here. So if any, maybe you grew up in a military family and you had the opportunity to travel as you grew up and felt the influence and the different art styles and the different fashions and home furnishings and just all of that. I know that when I visited Mexico, oh, I dropped my sheet. When I visited Mexico, I was just in awe. Okay, hang on. Got it. Yay. One of the things in Mexico that was so striking was just the use of color. There was no color out of bounds. There was no color that wasn't used. The way that they blended and mixed color in their home decor and in their fashions was just stunning and refreshing to see. I liked it a lot. The embroidery, oh my word. And the lace that the women's clothes would have. And the men, I know if you saw those pleated white shirts, you would know what I'm talking about. But just, again, you know, it's refreshing. It's definitely different. And I just love it. Absolutely loved it. Okay. Few more here. And now I'm going to even maybe have some that aren't even attached. Just kind of working their way out. I think I'm going to put one in here. Kind of create a couple of gaps. But keep working them out more. If you're using a brush with your gel medium and it's shedding its bristles, get rid of it for that purpose. Just it's gonna be something you're gonna struggle and it's not gonna improve. So maybe that brush will be handy for other purposes, but when you're using a glue and you're just gluing all these little fibers all over, you know, unless that's a look you're going for, and you know, I am not saying that I have all the answers, but I wouldn't mess with it because I just think you're gonna struggle, and I'm just not sure it's worth it. Just get a different brush for gluing. All right, and I kind of like that some of these pieces are kind of horizontal, kind of vertical. Some are sort of at a diagonal. And we're still working with some bigger and some smaller. Again, it's just kind of adding interest. Let me get this little guy for right here. My air conditioning is running, which is a very good thing. But it is making the gel matte medium dry a little bit fast, but that's okay. It's okay. But, you know, depending on where you live and what the circumstances are, you may have, you know, something like that too. The weather and the atmospheric conditions have a lot to do with dry time and the way things want to warp or not warp. I mean, it's all part of it. I'm tearing off another piece of this red because I feel like we need a little more. And I'm tearing off the border that didn't get any color. Where do we put it? We put it right on her. I had said that's why I didn't put gel medium on her yet, because I didn't want to drag paper and my arms and everything else through it, huh? Okay. Make a few of these just a little bit smaller. And add just a few more. I think I'm going to put some on this side. Some of the more random with some gaps and all. I think it could use it over here too. Yep. I am liking that. Do you find that regionally there's maybe changes? Now, you know, the United States is huge. And so you don't have to leave the United States to find entirely different cultures, you know, just total different cuisine, and even just the local colloquialisms. You just wonder, what are people talking about, because they're using little expressions and sayings that you've never heard before. Yeah, you can do that right here, and you never leave the United States. So where you are, Australia or UK, do you find that as well? I think that can also affect your art. I know the art that you'll find in downtown Detroit is a different feel and a different flavor than what you might find in Rochester Hills, which is way north of Detroit, but still considered a suburb. Sure is. Part of the greater Detroit area. But I think you'll find the murals and the way that people have decorated their homes very different from one part of the city to the other. Okay, I am comfortable with where this is right now. Now, once it's all done and dry, might I go back and maybe put more in? Maybe, but I don't know. I'm going to go ahead now and just get a layer of this gel medium on her. And I will try to hit most any of the places that I missed. And again, this will dry totally clear. And I'm not going to trim the ragged edges that are right off of the page until this is dry, because it's hard to cut, and then you goop up your scissors. There's no reason for it. Just let them enjoy life the way they are, and then when they're nice and dry, you can give it all a nice trim. And I am, because we are so close to the edge here, I'm going to go ahead and put gel medium right to the edge of the paper, so there's not that demarcation between where I started and stopped the project. Just get a nice coat all the way across. Now, I did not use any mediums on this paper in this journal before we started, so the gel medium is sinking in, but that's fine. I knew that, and that's one of the things it can be for. All right, now I've got my larger green, and these have, I had gel plated some, I don't want to get my arms in this. I had gel plated some letters, and it just kind of reminded me of maybe some signage that you might see in the city. And so I just thought I would just put a few of these out, and they're a totally different color than what we've got. So I think they'll be striking. And I think I'm going to put one right here. Right there. And then maybe when this is dry, maybe I'll take a Posca pen, which is an acrylic marker, and maybe I will put some frames around them. I don't know. We'll just have to see when it's dry. Okay. I like that. I love the look of this green with these reds. I can tell I didn't get enough gel medium here. I would never try to do a project with this much going on using a glue stick. Never. I just think that would be frustrating. And you know, if you watch my channel, you know I think glue sticks are wonderful. Not for this. Okay, I like it, but I want some more of these green squares. I sure do. So I've got more of that. That came from here. And I'm just I'm not cutting it with scissors. I'm tearing it with a ruler. I'm just going to move this a little bit to the side. And I'm going to tear another set of these off. So we have 4. So 3 more would be perfect. And I'm tearing off a bit with no letters. I'm not going to throw it away, but I'm not going to use it for this project. And I'm just tearing off 3. And let's see how that works. This one's rather large, and I like it. I'm going to put that right here. I think that will be a nice anchor to this corner. Yep. And I think one out here. See if I have one with a little more of the printing on it. Yeah, that's good. Now let's see. All right. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. I know. Way out here. Yes, sirree. Way out here. That's good. Yes. Yes. I'm really happy with that. I've got one more. Now, here's where my eye is going. Do I want to put it here? Now, I thought I did, but once I tried it, no. So I'm going to put it, see, I like it way out here. Very much I like that. All right. So we've got our young lady here in the middle. We've got our mosaic squares, all of the gel medium covered up, and they're all the gel plate prints. I think it looks great. I'm not signing it because I don't feel like it's done, but this needs to dry. So in our next video, we'll be maybe putting some frames around these green pieces, maybe some pen and ink. We'll just have to see. I can tell you, the way it looks now wet, it is going to look different when it's dry and it's completely matte and we don't see the white bits of gel medium here and there. So in the meantime, please consider giving this video a like, subscribe if you will, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye.